October 17, 2025. Daily Bread. Passage: Acts chapter 18 verse 12 to 28. Key verse: verse 27. Title: The Work of God Grows. But when Gallio was proconsul of Achaia, the Jews made a united attack on Paul and brought him before the tribunal, saying, "This man is persuading people to worship God contrary to the law." When Paul was about to open his mouth, Gallio said to the Jews, "If it were a matter of wrongdoing or vicious crime, O Jews, I would have reason to accept your complaint. But since it is a matter of questions about words and names and your own law, see to it yourselves. I refuse to be a judge of these things." And he drove them from the tribunal. And they all seized Sosthenes, the ruler of the synagogue, and beat him in front of the tribunal. But Gallio paid no attention to any of this. After this, Paul stayed many days longer and then took leave of the brothers and set sail for Syria, and with him Priscilla and Aquila. At Cenchrea he had cut his hair, for he was under a vow. And they came to Ephesus, and he left them there, but he himself went into the synagogue and reasoned with the Jews. When they asked him to stay for a longer period, he declined. But on taking leave of them he said, "I will return to you if God wills," and he set sail from Ephesus. When he had landed at Caesarea, he went up and greeted the church, and then went down to Antioch. After spending some time there, he departed and went from one place to the next through the region of Galatia and Phrygia, strengthening all the disciples. Now a Jew named Apollos, a native of Alexandria, came to Ephesus. He was an eloquent man, competent in the Scriptures. He had been instructed in the way of the Lord. And being fervent in spirit, he spoke and taught accurately the things concerning Jesus, though he knew only the baptism of John. He began to speak boldly in the synagogue, but when Priscilla and Aquila heard him, they took him aside and explained to him the way of God more accurately. And when he wished to cross to Achaia, the brothers encouraged him and wrote to the disciples to welcome him. When he arrived, he greatly helped those who through grace had believed. For he powerfully refuted the Jews in public, showing by the Scriptures that the Christ was Jesus. Daily Bread Message. God protected Paul, just as he had promised. The Jews again tried to make trouble, even having Paul arrested and brought to court. But just as Paul prepared to defend himself, Gallio the proconsul had them all ejected from the court. The Jews were so angry that they beat Sosthenes, the synagogue leader, but it was to no avail. When Paul sailed from Corinth to complete his second journey, he took Priscilla and Aquila with him. He made a vow in Cenchrea, then visited Ephesus briefly, leaving Priscilla and Aquila to work there. Then Paul sailed for home, going through Jerusalem and on to Antioch. Eventually Paul set out on his third journey. He visited and encouraged disciples in the churches he had previously pioneered, then went back to Ephesus. While Paul was gone, a man named Apollos had come to Ephesus. He was a Bible scholar, but he knew Jesus intellectually. He did not know him personally. Priscilla and Aquila invited him to their home and taught him the Bible. They led him to Jesus, and the Holy Spirit worked in his heart. He became an effective Bible teacher and a great help to the believers in Ephesus, and later in Corinth. God's work was growing in many ways. Prayer. Lord, your work is continuing to grow. Bless me to be a part of it. One word. Be a great help for God's work.